Tree in the Trail by Holling Clancy Holling. Chapters 19, 20, and 21. Chapter 19. The Yoke Goes to Independence. And so the best parts of the ancient cottonwood tree went traveling. No more was it rooted to one lonely spot while the world rolled past. It lay across the necks of two big oxen, Starbright and Bugle, leading the caravan. It swung with silver bells and traveled with a tune. At Independence, the head of the trail, steamboats splashed up the muddy Missouri with new cargoes. There were carted bales and barrels to the stores, boxes of glassware, perfumes, cloth, food, and hardware brought riches to the Santa Fe trade. And so merchants in silk hats bowed and silk-gowned ladies riding in polished carriages. Frenchmen from Canada and New Orleans arrived by canoe. Blanketed Indians on spotted ponies wandered at the giant smoking boats, always on fire that never burned down. Americans from civilized East laughed with amusement at the raw West. To mountain men bringing furs from the Rockies, this was civilization itself. Barbershops, dance halls, and hotels did a brisk business. Jed Simpson had counted the growth of tree rings on the cottonwood when he made the yoke. Now under each curio he burned its date. Crowds gathered at the window of Chris Johnson's store, where Jed worked, to see the yoke. When Indians learned where it came from, they jabbered excitedly. Winter blizzards howled down the icy river from the open plains, and the town slept. But when the ice went out and snow melted under warm winds, Buck Smith rode in with news. "Buffalo herds grazing north again," he cried. "Grass is up." The stores buzzed like hives of bees. Loaded wagons left town to gather at Council Grove. Jed said goodbye to Chris Johnson and led his train away, and the yoke started westward to Santa Fe with Starbuck and Bugle singing its silver tunes. Rendezvous at Council Grove. Rendezvous is a French word meaning a place where people have planned to meet, or the meeting itself. Trappers in the Rockies had a famous rendezvous on the Green River, which is now Wyoming. Once each year, they rendezvoused to trade among themselves, tell stories, and have a rootin' tootin', racing, shootin', wild and woolly time. So here is how the wagon was formed. The bits and pieces put together, the spokes of the wheel, the hoops over which the white canvas was placed, the coaches, the wheels. Rendezvous at Council Grove. Council Grove had the last stand of hardwood on the march westward. The men made spare parts for the wagons from oak, walnut, maple, and hickory. Axes rang, trees crashed, mauls thudded on wedges, and logs split open. Hand saws buzzed, planes and draw shaves hissed through the wood, and the ground was littered with golden curls like the floor of a Dutch baker shop, as Buck said. Here the men cleaned everything, even themselves. Splashing and laughter rolled along the shady creek. Curious fish swirled through soapy water and swam away in disgust. Crows and thrushes were puzzled when bushes suddenly bloomed with woolens hung to dry. Small wagon trains came to Council Grove like streams to a river, joining together for better protection against hostile Indians. When a captain was elected to head the larger caravan, Jed Simpson was chosen as usual. One June morning, Jed rolled out of his blankets in the gray dawn to call his first order. "Catch up! Catch up!" Immediately men raced through the dark to catch and harness their neighboring neighing horses, bawling oxen, or braying mules. Yoke chains clanked, rings rattled, but soon from wood and glades drivers began calling, "All set!" as their outfit were ready. At the last call, the captain yelled, "Stretch out!" and the wagons rumbled into place in the gray light. Jed, standing on a wheel hub, counted 41. They were strung out in 4 rows of 10 each, his own in front, like a fleet of sailing ships in a fog, awaiting a breeze. And Jed X. Simpson supplied the breeze. He carefully smoothed his beard, cupped his hands to his mouth, took a deep breath, and bellowed, "Fall in!" like a bull roaring. Starbuck and Bugle lunged against the cottonwood yoke. Men yelled, whips cracked, and 164 wheels started turning towards Santa Fe. Chapter 21. Return to the Hill. So here's a map starting at Independence and ending down here in Santa Fe where the cottonwood tree had once stood. Over 100 miles stretched between Council Grove and the hill of the Twin Buttes. Wheel ruts of the trail gorged the earth like plowed furrows. The wagons traveled 4 abreast so as to keep bunched together in case of attack, and at night were formed into a circle stockade. Well, we've seen Injuns and that nearby, thick as Kansas sunflowers, reported Buck. But though armed guards kept alert, no war whoops split the early dawn. At last the hill camp was reached, and the wagons circled the pond. Jed and Buck sprawled on their blankets under the stars. "Seems funny not to see her spreading above us, don't it?" said Jed. "But if a tree could think, I'll bet she's mighty glad to be a yoke swinging along, tinkling pretty. That tree was too held down, always pointing as if she wanted to follow us on the trail. Now she can go beyond her hill, way out yonder, further than she ever dreamed." Maybe it's that way with people, sort of. They get rooted down too. Along comes disaster, what looks like it, and they feel lost. But maybe if they only knew, all that happened to them is that they've been freed to go further than they ever thought. Maybe there's bells waiting for them too, bells that tinkle inside them somewhere. "Huh," snorted Buck. "Maybe you should be wondering why Injuns after our hair now that the tree ain't here to protect this hill. They're so near I can might night smell 'em, but they don't attack." "They won't attack," replied Jed calmly. "I explained plenty about the yoke to them. Injuns back in Independence. They set the word along. The tribe now thinks the peace medicine lives on in the yoke. The old tree spirit is still saving us from harm." Tree in the Trail, Chapter 19, 20, and 21.